Good morning, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for joining. I see we have people here from coast to coast, and I know for some of you this is first thing in the morning, and we really do appreciate your time and attention. For those of you who have followed us regularly, you know that typically we talk about products in the industry and industry changes, but today we're going to talk about service. Remember service, folks? That used to be an important part of who you did business with, is where you got the best service. And I think MaxLite is amongst the tops as far as providing services to the public, including these webinars, videos, training sessions that we make available. And today we're going to highlight one of our primary services that MaxLite offers. I think it's quite unique in the industry. And we're going to focus today on utility rebates, which have become a big part of the lighting industry for sure. We're going to talk about the departments, the service department's core mission, some utility trends, a little bit about rebates and custom rebates, key utility offerings that MaxLite has in place today. Going forward, MaxLite Rebate Paperwork Service, which doesn't have a very flashy name, but let me tell you, that's why we're all here today. That's a tremendous service that Joe and his team will be offering, and some other things. So to begin, I'd like to read to you very quickly the core mission of MaxLite's Utility Solutions team headed by Joe Pater, and that is to provide utility rebate support to reps and customers to help drive incremental sales and find new opportunities for growth. Joe Pater, thank you for joining us today.
Yeah, thank you, Greg. Appreciate it. Nice to be here. So, we're going to talk about a variety of things regarding the utility business here with MaxLite. As Greg mentioned, we all know that the rebates that are driven forth in the market by the utilities are one of the strongest reasons or heaviest drivers of market penetration for LED. The product is more expensive, of course, and rebates are helping to move the market toward a more efficient product. So overall, the theme of the group that I manage here at MaxLite is how can we utilize the utility rebates to help drive sales? And if you're a customer of MaxLite, we want to help you sell more LED into your marketplace using the utility rebates. So we're going to talk a little bit about trends, and I've got a couple bullet points out there right now. You've probably utilized our C&I rebate finder on the website. If you haven't, it's just located on the top ribbon. It's utility rebates, and then you can choose the first drop-down utility rebate finder. Greg will talk a little bit more about navigating that site in a moment. But the programs have all been updated for 2014, and one of the trends we found as we looked at all the rebate applications over the last 45 days is that not all programs changed. It really has been dependent on the timing of utility program filings, and these filings really dictate what the utility is allowed to do. They put together a plan, they submit it to the Public Utility Commission, and the public is allowed to comment on it. Marketplace folks can comment on it, and usually those are in 2, 3, or 5-year increments. So not everything has changed over 2013, and I would encourage you to go out there and take a look at your programs in your marketplace to see if anything has been updated or changed for any of your programs. Controls are certainly becoming a bigger part of the utility rebate programs, in some cases required, as we're seeing out in California with Title 24. And controls are rebated at a higher level as well. So, buying a parking fixture with photo control or motion sensor often can get an extra incentive adder added to the program total. And the third bullet point, certainly we are seeing an increase in rebate categories. So this is like overall availability for rebates regarding LED. If you're in one of the territories, such as maybe the Northeast, that's had strong LED rebates for the last 3 years, you've seen a lot of interest and a lot of movement in outdoor parking, outdoor area, things of that nature. Some of those rebates are starting to get into the interior lighting now. So we're seeing more ambient lighting, more recessed troffers, retrofit kits, and high bays, another one that's kind of opened up in the last year. So a wider range of availability for LEDs, and that is a very good thing for the business. The fourth bullet there is kind of the downside of a maturing market. We're seeing the dollars per unit for LED products are flat, slightly down. And this is really just a function of the economics here. The cost of the product is declining, as we all know, and therefore the utilities are going to assign lower rebate values to push those products, to get those products incented in the marketplace. That's just a normal function. And, it's not something that really affects us in a big way because, of course, the price is coming down and the availability of rebates in more categories makes the programs more beneficial for us and for you. And the final bullet there is that budgets for LEDs certainly continue to grow. And we see this with the category expansion and definitely in terms of dollars that are being associated to LEDs growing in a big way. So overall dollars per fixture is slightly down to flat, but overall money being spent is up. We're going to see an even larger movement on that in the coming years. Very quickly, this is state efficiency program ranking from the ACEEE. If you take a quick look, you'll get kind of a gauge as to where your state falls into the mix. This takes into account progressiveness relating to the efficiency programs from the utilities and also things at the state level. So you kind of can get a gauge on where the hot spots are. Of course, the West Coast, and then, of course, up in the Northeast. Everything else just kind of down the middle. So just kind of the overall theme, or you can get kind of a gauge on where your state is. And the next slide here is an electricity rate heat map. This is from NREL, but this data is also available from the EIA, really on a monthly basis. You can see that the costs for electricity are certainly related to population, with California and also the Northeast taking up the majority in terms of the higher end costs. We also have things with ruralness, which can account for cost of energy. There's also state regulations that can make things less expensive. For example, Texas. A lot of people living in Texas, but electricity isn't really that expensive because of deregulation and electricity providers being able to compete with each other. And you see in the Northwest there, you've got some spots where electricity is under 5 cents a kilowatt hour, and that's due to hydropower, just really cheap electricity. And I just have this slide in here today because it kind of gives you some sense of why is my state either at the top of the list in terms of efficiency or the bottom. And it doesn't always correlate with cost of electricity, but there is some correlation. You can see it if we compare this slide with this one. But you also see, Washington ranked number 8, and Washington has a very low cost of electricity. And why is that? Like I said, it's hydropower. So overall, there's a lot of different inputs that come into play when you're looking at why certain utilities do things that others don't. And it's a very dynamic marketplace. I can't even really, say that I fully understand. I'm just, still learning every day when it comes to this type of thing. So other trends, rebates overall are growing rapidly. $5 billion is estimated to be paid in 2014. Now, this is dollars paid for everything, so not just lighting, but also HVAC, utility rebates, building envelope, things like that. So it's a big dollar amount being paid out into the marketplace. Lighting upgrades are definitely the most cost-effective rebates for utilities. So, when they're looking at planning and they're sitting in their conference rooms talking about what to put into the programs for the coming program year or 3-year cycle, whatever it may be, lighting is always near or at the top of the list. When they spend $1 on lighting, they're getting that dollar back without any question, and they're getting much more over the course of the product lifetime. So certainly lighting is top of the list, and it's a good business to be in. Utilities are pushing for lifetime savings on LED projects. This is a big one. Overall, right now, when you look at custom calculated lighting program rebates, they really only look at the first year savings. And we're going to talk about this in a few minutes when I show you an example. You're just looking at the first year savings, and that really doesn't account for, what you're now selling is product that's going to be in place for potentially 20 years, maybe more. So there's energy savings that the utilities can capture beyond year one. So they're trying to get state regulators and the market actors to agree that, LED product and lighting in general right now should be looked at as more of a longer term. I don't know if that's really going to happen in a big way over the course of the next few years, but we are seeing it in small gains, like Wisconsin, just for example, went to a lifetime savings model. So we may see it in other places, and if it does happen, it's going to be something that will benefit everybody in the room today because more rebates will become available just for the fact that utilities will be able to gain more savings. The fourth button there is rebates are an easy way for your customers to increase ROI, shorten your payback period. That one's kind of obvious. And the last one we're going to talk about in a few minutes, utilizing our new MaxLite rebate paperwork service to gain new business with distribution and contractors. If you've used our rebate finder, we've got a lot of data out there, and we've got all the information and links and a correlation with our products. But we realize that customers, still need to take that final step to gain the utility rebate, to make it part of the project and to choose the more efficient technology. So that gap, we're trying to shorten that gap by offering a service that's going to allow them to utilize us, do the paperwork for them to a certain extent. And we'll talk about that in more detail. So just a real quick rebate refresher. A lot of this might be knowledge you already have, but I'll just go through it real quick in case it's beneficial to anybody. Prescriptive rebates, if you've heard that word, prescriptive, it really is just a one-for-one replacement. It's very simple. For example, replace an old metal halide fixture, receive a set dollar amount to install a new LED fixture. It's a one-for-one, as easy as it gets. Number two there is custom. And custom can be more time-consuming, but can also be more lucrative. And it's because it takes into account time. And it looks at the actual energy wattage or saved over the course of a period of time. So overall, the custom programs are more specific and require more paperwork, but the dollars can actually be better, especially on some of the products like, for example, our Stacks Max, where you're using a 405-watt fixture to replace potentially a 1,000-watt fixture. That's a very large wattage delta. And when you multiply that by operating hours, taking it out maybe 4,000 hours a year or maybe a little less for that type of product, your savings grows very quickly. So the types of custom rebates, you've got three different styles. Dollar per watt reduced is the difference between the old lighting input wattage and the new. For example, the ComEd program pays 50 cents a watt reduced right now. Dollar per kilowatt hour reduced in the first year. This is what I was talking about earlier. This is the difference between the old annual kilowatt hour usage and the new. And you'll see ranges on these programs. Some of them are actually as low as 3 cents a kilowatt hour up to as high as 18 cents a kilowatt hour. And like I said earlier, this is the part where they're really just looking at the first year energy savings. So what are they going to save in that first year? And, in your mind, you're probably thinking, why? Why do they only look at the first year? And that's really the drive to have the utilities rebating based on full lifetime savings. You're saving energy beyond the first year, without any doubt. And the third style of custom program is the dollar per kilowatt reduced. And this is really just taking out the time element. So you're really just looking at energy demand here. And these look usually pretty big. You'll see something like a $700 per kilowatt hour or kilowatt reduced, maybe a $350 per kilowatt reduced. And occasionally I'll have somebody ask me, wow, that looks like a really strong rebate. In the end, it really is just a different way of looking at the calculation. And I'll show you an example of that here in a second. The styles here all really come out to the same thing in the end, except if you really have a lot of operating hours. If you're talking about an application that's 24 hours a day, that middle option, the dollar per kilowatt hour, that's where you want to be. And if your rebate program in your local market has a dollar per kilowatt hour custom rebate, you can really get a lot of momentum just looking at time usage. So an example here is our 70-watt LED wall pack replacing a 250-watt metal halide. And we're going to make an assumption that it's operating 12 hours a day, which equates to 4,380 hours a year. And very simply, 250 watts minus 70, and you're going to get to 180 saved watts. If your rebate paid on saved watts, like that first option that I just showed you a moment ago, you would take that dollar amount and multiply it by the 180, and that's your rebate. But to continue on and get to one of the other calculations, you've got to do some conversions. So to get to kilowatt, you're going to take 180 saved watts and divide by 1,000 and get to 0.18 kilowatt. And that's your kilowatt. So if you had a rebate program that paid on kilowatt, you'd take that 0.18 and multiply it out by whatever your dollar amount is. And to get to kilowatt hours annually, you've got to get the operating hours involved. So 0.18 kilowatt multiplied by 4,380 operating hours equals 788 kilowatt hours saved. And that's over a course of a year. Because, of course, we're just looking at 4,380, which is 1 year operating hours. And I just had a question, where do you get the 1,000 from? And that's a great question. This is probably something we all learned in math class at one point. But it's simply a conversion from watts to kilowatts. And I'm not a math teacher, so I apologize. I'm not able to tell you exactly why it's divided by 1,000, but that's really the conversion. So you're going from watts to kilowatts.
Because 1,000 kilowatts is equal to 1 watt. That's why, because 1,000 kilowatts is equal to 1 watt.
And I'm not sure if you just cleared that up for everybody or made it more confusing, but but that's the answer. So thank you, Greg. Yeah, and there you go. So somebody said cleared it up. Perfect. If you know what, I'll just say that you don't really need to know this stuff because we've got a great calculator right on our website where you can punch in all the inputs, which we'll talk about in a few minutes here, and you can make it real easy on yourself. You've also got access to me if you need it, and I can help you walk through any of that stuff. So I'm going to pass it back to Greg. He's going to talk about some of the key offerings and move on here.
Thank you, Joe. So for regular viewers of this monthly webinar, we have stressed how to use the C&I rebate finder often, and we're going to quickly review that again today. We're also going to talk about custom utility rebates, where I'll say that if you've got a utility rebate program in your territory, and for example, if you're a stocking distributor who's stocking one of these products that is eligible for the rebate in your territory, we would help you to help your sales. We would help you by building a custom rebate flyer. We'll work with the utility to make sure that we can use their logo. We'll put all the information down, and it is proven to help turn your inventory. Your inventory is going to turn faster when you have this type of flyer sitting on your counter and you have your sales guys out in the street hand in the mouth. So that service is available, will continue to be available to you throughout 2014. MaxLite with Sophie Gallagher and Joe Pater and the rest of the team, they built a custom rebate calculator at MaxLite.com that you can find right off the front page. They've also put things together that make this easier for you, such as the certification product listing. You can pull up all of MaxLite products that are DLC listed or Energy Star listed or LDL listed or 2 out of 3 or the whole list. So it makes it very easy for you. You don't have to go through the catalog. We pull it out by utility certifying body. And last, while we're all here today, we're going to focus on the utility rebate paperwork service that Joe and team will have available for you going forward. So as you know, if you go to MaxLite.com homepage and click on utility rebates, it'll bring you to a page like this. And what you would do is you would choose your state, which is the first drop-down box that you have. In this particular case, as an example, we did Vermont. So we chose Vermont. Once we've done that, then it's choose your utility. A state like California has a very long list of utilities, and in this case of Vermont, there's a single utility. Once you've got that, it prints out a full list of all of the products that MaxLite manufactures that are eligible for this Vermont utility or for your local utility. It gives you a photograph of the product, a direct link to the full spec, a brief description, also the rebate amount and how that rebate works, as well as a direct link to the utility's website, and most importantly, a direct link for the documentation you have to fill out and complete in order to get that rebate. And what we have found is very often it is right here where things kind of stall out. This paperwork sometimes doesn't get printed, or the installer thinks that the user is going to fill out the paperwork, or vice versa. So this is where Joe and team are going to come in and help you. Joe, you want to speak more about that?
Yeah, so this is something new for 2014. We were offering this kind of on the side last year. We had some people take us up on it, and we found that those projects moved along faster and got completed and closed quicker. So we realized moving into 2014, this is really something that we can use to help drive business for you and get more interest in MaxLite LED and just generally make things easier for customers. So I'd start with a disclaimer typically, because if you're offering this to your customers right now, if you're doing paperwork for them, I don't want to take that away from you because I know that's a value add, and this is something that you're offering the customer today, and they may be hooked into your business because you're offering this, and that's great. I don't want to disrupt that at all. I'll assist you in whatever other way we can help you drive business. This is really meant for new clients or customers who always say things like, I would love to work with the utility programs. I'd love to get, things going on that side, but I just really haven't been able to make it work. It's too confusing, it's complicated, etc. And we all know these forms, they're terribly complicated. I mean, even going to the website and trying to find the form can be a pain in the butt. Utilities are very conservative folks. They're using public money, so they publish a lot of text. And they'll put everything out there, every little nuance, every little tiny thing that could happen, They want to have something in writing out there. So that's why when you go to one of these sites, it's just super confusing. And it takes a while even to get a gauge on what you're supposed to do. So we will manage that for you or for your customer in whatever way that you think would help drive business for MaxLite and for your company. The process is very simple. We must have a majority of MaxLite product on the project, kind of an obvious one. The rep or the customer or distributor, whoever's involved here, should make direct contact with me. We've got an intern working with us as well. So either myself or my intern, Dan, will be working with you or the customer directly to gather information on the project. This is basic stuff like the utility account numbers, the current products installed, whether it's retrofit or new construction, and of course the detail on the new MaxLite product. If you've already got a quote set up for the MaxLite product, that'd be wonderful and make it look one step easier. And we will set up the forms for you, get everything put into the right places. Now, sometimes you've got to look at measure tables and like existing fixture wattage tables that can be very confusing. We'll do that for you. We'll try to figure out, which measures need to go in which spots. I do realize, and I'm sure some folks out there are thinking, you can't do everything. You're not on site, and there's a lot of on-site stuff that needs to happen. We realize that, and I'm not trying to be naive here. There's going to be some involvement from either the customer or the rep or the distributor to make sure we have all the necessary information. So it's kind of, we're trying to make it easier by getting things set up to the point where you can take it and run and submit it to the utility. And the end of the process here is that the funds will be paid back to the customer or you as the distributor or whoever, if you're a contractor. MaxLite is not trying to take the rebate money here and offer like a upfront cost deduction. We're not in the business. I'm sure you're aware there's some companies out there who will do that, who will do all the work on the rebate side and then take a cut off the rebate, like maybe 30%. We're not trying to do that at all. The benefit that we see as a company is that this will help us grow LED sales, help you close more larger LED bids, and overall will kind of position us as having this additional value-added service. So when you're looking at MaxLite versus a competitor, or your customers looking at a competitor versus MaxLite, we have one extra tool in the tool bag that we can offer them. So I'm really excited about this, and we just hit the ground with it in January. You may have seen in the MaxLite Minute we made an announcement. Eventually, we're going to have a dedicated page on the website for this service. I would encourage you to reach out now. Don't hesitate to let me know if there's an opportunity out there or a customer who you want to make an introduction to. I am part of the MaxLite service arm. So if you're a rep and you're working with one of our sales managers, I'm part of that team. If you're a distributor and you're buying from one of the MaxLite reps, I'm pretty much part of that rep agent team as well. I'm through the MaxLite, arm. So consider me a service component that you can utilize from the MaxLite group. And finally, just some ideas for engagement. Number one up there, we've got, of course, the first thing is just what I was just talking about. So introduce the paperwork service to customers who are looking to dive deeper into utility rebates. Let me know, and please get me involved on anything you think we could grow business for you and for us through offering the service. The second one is selling or bid opportunities with local utilities. I'll just say that we are an AESP member. It's a very large organization for utility folks and program managers and higher level folks at the utilities. So we're very involved in that, and we have a lot of exposure to the utility world. If you have a great opportunity that you're bidding on, and even if there's a small slice that's MaxLite, I would love to help you out, assist you in making new contacts if you need it, or providing information from my perspective. Let me know. I just kind of always make that offer out there. If you're working with a utility bid, feel free to get us involved. That's why they have me in this role. Third one is marketing the utility rebates to your territories. Certainly reach out if you think a marketing flyer would help you drive rebate sales. There is a button right on the utility rebate finder near the top that says click to request rebate flyer. If you can submit that information, it'll get into our queue for creating a flyer for your market. And also want to mention that on the finder, we've got almost 200 programs now. And like I mentioned earlier, we just did the updates for 2014. It's a lot of work to stay on top of all these things. And I realized that because I'm, managing 200 of them, there's no way that I have the best set of eyes on your unique market or the rebate program that you deal with most. So I would encourage you, if you ever come upon an issue or something that's missing or a broken link, please send me an email. Just something real quick. Let me know that there's something out there that I need to work on. It's very difficult to stay on 200 of them. And we already got one message from somebody earlier today, Dick Downey from Iowa, that Mid-American in Iowa needs to be back up onto the system. So thank you, Dick. I appreciate that note. And that goes for anybody else on the webinar today. Please let me know. It's a work in progress all the time. It's not one static list. Like today, for example, one of our reps in Maine contacted me and said, hey, I was out at a distributor, and he mentioned that the Efficiency Maine program just had a refresh last week. I wasn't aware of it because, they don't always send notes out when these things get updated. It's really up to us to stay on top of what changes. So I took a look, and of course, there's like 5 new rebates for Efficiency Maine within the last 7 days. So please, if you come across something that would benefit have up on the website or just make it easier for your customers or whoever, please let me know. My email is right there on the website. It's right under the little thing up on top. And the final one is new opportunities for LED. I would just mention this, that if you're in a market that does not have a robust LED rebate program through the utility, let's strategize on how we can potentially change that. We've done this successfully in a couple of places where, we've influenced their decision-making just by providing them evidence, data sheets, pricing, the information that we have and we work with day to day, just getting it into the right hands at the utility at the moment that they're kind of evaluating things. So I was talking earlier, they're sitting in the conference room and they're talking about what products are we going to look at. Well, if we can give them a packet of information about all the benefits relating to LED high bays and why they should have a prescriptive rebate for LED high bays, we're putting it all out there for them. They're going to throw it into the mix and it'll be reviewed. That's really what we want to do more of. So if you have a market that's not really being tapped for LED, please reach out to me and let's come up with a strategy. See if maybe I have a contact at the utility, maybe you have a contact. I'll put together a bundle of information for them, and we'll just see where it goes. Maybe it can help you with sales down the line. And that's all I have, so I'll flip it back to Greg here for University.
Joe, thank you so much. Really appreciate it. We should have you on more often. What a wealth of information. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for joining today. Before you go, please do take a moment to let us know how many of you are watching. This is a service that MaxLite provides, and we do like to know, how many folks are out there and how many are paying attention. Joe Pater's service is up and running. This has been running for over a month now, so please do take advantage and let us know how we can help you in your business. Wanted to let you know that university.maxlite.com is another service that we provide that's available to you and the public for free. Earn Your Lighting Degree is up and running. A true university like any other online university, except completely free. And if we can help you with any kind of training, whether it be product training or technology training, let us know. We'd be happy to make a custom training session just for you and your customers, whether it be a full lineup of MaxLite products or a specific few or general lighting training. Let us know how we can help you in your business. Kathy, we will be sending copies to everyone who joined us today. Look for that in your email. Folks, thank you all for taking our poll. We really appreciate it. We know your time is valuable. Thank you for spending the last hour or so with us. Have a great rest of the day.